Welcome back to Sea Glass Archaeology, everybody. Adventure was calling me, and here I am at the world's most dangerous beach out in Glace Bay. But unfortunately, I can see that there's no pebbles for me to look through, so we're gonna go try somewhere else. Let's go for a trip.
Destination is on your left.
Here we are, everybody. Welcome to Sydney Mines. I literally am at a spot where the road turns into dirt and it falls into the ocean. I've never been here before in my life, and I can already see a lot of sea glass, and there's like a million tons of pebbles to look through. So this is really exciting. I just found my first piece, everybody, and on top of that, there's tons and tons of these beautiful shells that I love. And I just found a piece of an old poison bottle as well. And that's a really good sign, you know, right at the top. And that probably means that there's a bottle dump around here. I really have no idea where I'm going, but my heart was calling for adventure and I found it. So here we have a really old boat ramp that's extremely dilapidated. It probably hasn't been used in decades. And you can see that it was just jimmy rigged. They just kind of put little patch jobs on it over and over, but it looks like it could handle some really, really large vessels because it's about 4 to 5 times larger than the one back in my place. So have a look at my first really nice ceramic shard, everybody. It's got some beautiful yellow and blue to it. It was probably a nice little plate. Here it is, everybody. I can already see my first great find of the day. Oh my goodness. It's gonna be a really good afternoon, you can already see. I haven't even made it to 100 pieces of sea glass, and I just found this incredible little marble. It's got a C on it, and it took a lot of courage for me to come out here, because as a new driver, I'm really still afraid to be on the road and do things other than just go to my shop and take my kids to hockey. But you can see that it's a really old marble. It's got some unique swirls to it. And to me, this might be an old Ravenswood or a Christensen, something that was probably made before World War II. And it's a really good sign because on top of that beautiful marble, I'm finding these big chunks of old antique glass from like the late 1800s to early 1900s. So I know it's gonna be a great place for antique finds. Oh my gosh, you've got to be kidding me. I just picked this up. It was backwards, and it's an incredible old knob. I literally haven't even had a chance to take a picture of that marble, everybody. And now look at what I just recovered right over here. This is something like I've never seen before out my way. And it's wild because the shoreline looks just like it did out in Glace Bay, but we are so far away. We're over 60 kilometers away from that spot. So at first I thought that this would have been like a pull knob from a drawer, but without a doubt, this is gonna be the top of a lid from a crockery, some sort of a ceramic vessel. And it's nothing like I've ever found out my way. I can see that it's a little bit porous now that I look at it right on the cross section over here. And as I talk about it in my videos, that means it wasn't vitrified and fired at a high temperature. So there's a good chance that this is late 1800s, early 1900s, probably a pre-World War I find. Hopefully I can make a match for this on the internet somewhere and put it in the video. Okay, here we go. There's a nice piece of blue. Gosh, this one's a little bit older too, but it's really fresh. So I'm wondering if the bottle dump is somewhere over here. It almost looks like I can see some debris right over here. So I might have to try and risk my life and go find some bottles. Oh my gosh, look at this now, everybody. Oh, it's not sea glass, but it's the best that you can get. And it's Gillette. This was a razor that somebody would have flushed down the toilet, and now for some odd reason I'm holding it and sharing it with you. But this is an indication that a sewer line empties out over here. And lo and behold, look at this, everybody. There are numerous pipes that are just sticking out of the shoreline. And I'm not talking about just one or two. There's a dozen of them. I'm right at the end, everybody, and I'm almost positive that there's gonna be bottles right over here. I'm not gonna be able to get over today because the tide is just too high. What I'm finding right over here in this little cove, though, it's making me wanna come back every day of my life. So take a look at this crazy find. Absolutely huge, and without a doubt, this is gonna be from an old Hemingway Insulator, that beautiful turquoise blue, and it's got that little ribbed embossing on it known as the pinhole threading. And then right next to it, I found this huge piece from a threaded wine bottle. It's really nicely aged as well. And this is a nice piece from about the same period as this huge chunk of blue. So there's no telling what's over there on the other side of that cove, but maybe I'm gonna have to go out and get my boat license and get out there and see what there is. Oh, I see something that's large and ceramic. It looks like Corel right over here. Yeah, this is a big piece of a plate. I don't think, no, that's definitely not an insulator. It's a plate. It's a really large plate. I just want to let everybody see how beautiful it is over here. I could almost say there's 100 miles of shoreline to explore from where I'm standing to the other end. And I'm not the only person out here enjoying the day. Not necessarily have to beachcomb to enjoy nature, but this is just a perfect January day. It took me a while, everybody, but I finally made it back to that old boat ramp. If that first spot over there was any indication of what I'm gonna find in this big pile of pebbles behind me, we're in for a great afternoon. Nice piece of blue. What I love out here is you can see the marine life is burrowing through, and these are literally snails that just dig a hole right through. They're trying to protect themselves, but they don't know that the rock is that thin, so they literally dig a hole right to China. And here's something else I see often out my way, and it's a shotgun casing, because people do a lot of hunting, and this is flotsam as well, so it could come here from anywhere. We can see there's a lot of igneous rock. Here's a few more nice ceramic shards, everybody, and a beautiful piece from an old wine bottle. Now, these are definitely from the willow pattern, and they were made in different generations. But that's always the greatest indication you're in a town dump, is when you're finding these old ceramic shards. Without a doubt, this is the biggest piece of steel that I have ever found on the shoreline, everybody. I think this had to do with melting down the iron ore and actually refining it into steel many generations ago, because this is about 2.5 to 3 inches thick. I can't believe what I just found, everybody. Kicking right here at the low tide mark. This is as low as the tide's gonna get today, everybody, and it's not gonna get any better than this when it comes down to digging in the rocks. I just got super soaked, and I just got super rewarded for all of my effort. So take a look at this beautiful piece. It's a little bit dull, and it's got a lot of weight to it. I wish I could put it in your hand and you could feel it. So without a doubt, this is a piece of lead crystal, and this might have been the top of a fancy decanter, an alcohol decanter that somebody would have had about 100 to 120 years ago. You can even see, when I turn it on its side, that it's got a few little faint bubbles on the inside, and those are pockets of gas, as this would have been made by hand well over 100 years ago, and modern machine glass typically doesn't have these little bubbles in it. So I'm gonna keep digging, everybody, and I'm gonna keep getting when the getting's good. I can't believe that there's nobody out on the beach with me right now. I can see that there's a few footprints. Somebody was here a lot earlier today, but right now I've got this whole place to myself. It's just me and the birds. There's 100 million tons of rocks out here that's just bearing sea glass material, and unfortunately there's not enough hours in the day. Even if I had an excavator, there's no way I could get through all of this. And it's wild because where we're from, this would be dug through, but in a community like this where it's really isolated, not a lot of people are getting out here. I guess this is one of the best kept secrets in Cape Breton. So this beautiful little pink caught my attention, and without a doubt, it goes perfectly with this nice little ceramic shard. This is not the willow pattern whatsoever, and this is a really early piece of ceramic. So I just reached this huge wall of armor rock, and you can see that the rocks are piling up over here. This probably looks like a really good place to trap sea glass and to trap rare artifacts. You know, some of the best stories I hear from people around the world are little triangle beaches near the wharf or near the armor rock, so we're gonna go check it out. This tiny lip indicates that this would have been from an old food preservation jar, like a mason jar. And then look right over here, you gotta be kidding me, it's a 50% off sale. So it's another one of these beautiful marbles. Oh, it's too bad. It looks like it fractured recently because it's not too frosty on this side. It's a little bit glassy, but it almost looks like it's a gassy swirl from a planet. It's just stellar, and I'm happy it's coming home with me. Just for fun, everybody, here I am at the top of the pile, and I was all the way down there in the trench not too long ago, so you can imagine that this has been pushing up for months and months, and what's underneath here hasn't been touched yet. There's so much beach left to explore. I'm not really gonna get to do anything but scratch the surface for a little bit, but I'm having a great time, and I got some great finds. A lot of people think the life of a professional beachcomber is just surf, sand, and seagulls, but I'm here to tell you there's a lot of seaweed involved in it as well. So I spent hundreds of hours picking thousands and thousands of pieces of glass. Most of them are really insignificant, and they're not as exciting as the ones that I share with you. I've been walking a long time since the armor rock, and I got a long way to go until I get to the next pile of pebbles. But it's a beautiful day, and my curiosity is just telling me I gotta keep going even though I'm out of breath. I just saw that there's a bunch of dog prints, And then there's also, this is the weirdest bone I've ever seen, but it's not a bone, everybody. It's actually a piece of iron that's been rusting out. It looks just like a bone, and I hope that a dog didn't bend down and try and bite this and bury it in the sand. I'm almost at the end of the seaweed, everyone. Finally, there's a few piles of rocks, and this beach has been so good so far. There's no reason to think I'm not gonna find more stuff. Take a look at some of these absolutely out of this world geological specimens. This is something we don't find on my side of the island. This one is something I do find, but it's just as beautiful. There's no way I can't take it. Oh shoot, and I saw a turquoise right there. Oh my gosh. Hold on, everybody. There was a beautiful blue. I see it. There it is. Yeah. So take a look, everybody, the waves. Oh, I'm gonna get back first. That was such a close one, everybody. I really almost lost this piece to the ocean. But without a doubt, this is another fragment from an old insulator. And that's a great indication, again, that we're picking on an old dump site. If we're finding two massive pieces, and they're not the best age, to be honest with you. They're not super smooth like some of the other ones that I've found in my lifetime. But it's a good indication that a lot of insulators were thrown out here. And it's a good indication that you can find a lot more as well. So take a look at this, everybody. Well, it's not the prettiest shard. It's going to make a beautiful pendant, and it was once a nice milk glass vessel. Something like this wasn't from a cold cream container. This might have actually been from something like an ornate bowl. And luckily for me, I always have a cool example waiting to show you. Look at that piece. It's beautiful, and it's large, and it's going to make another nice pendant. I see another great piece over here, everyone, and without a doubt, this one is going to be from an old milk bottle. It's a cap seat closure. It's very similar to that mason jar that we found earlier. It's just absolutely remarkable to me that I'm finding so many shards of glass and artifacts from the same time period as my town, but it's a little bit of a variation because of what was sold in the stores out here in Sydney mines. We have to imagine that a lot of the stuff I'm finding actually was made before automobiles. It was made during the age of steam and horse and carriage as well. So goods really didn't transfer from one town to another as easily as they do nowadays. It feels like I've been walking forever again. You can see that the armor rock is so far behind me, but I still have a long way to go to my destination because there's some steps right over there at the edge, and I'm imagining if that's accessible to the public, then there's going to be some good stuff there for them to find because they go there frequently. It's the same thing they did in Glace Bay. They built some steps for the place where people love to go beachcombing. So before I get totally saturated here, I'm going to get my eyes back on the ground and keep on with the hunt. So I definitely know this is a spot on the beach that hasn't been picked yet because I'm really starting to recover some larger shards. A lot of nice big pieces. Too bad they're not big blue, but you really never know with every turn of the pile. And here we go, a nice piece of blue, and it's coming home with me. There's a lot of small pieces, a lot of medium pieces, stuff like this that I can probably turn into earrings. So I'm almost at the end of the rainbow, everybody. You can see those steps that I was aiming for right behind me. Without a doubt, though, I've already found my pot of gold, and he needs no introduction whatsoever. All the way from the Dagobah system, a long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away, say hello to Master Yoda, quite possibly the greatest philosopher of all time, outside of yours truly, of course. Now, unfortunately, I took a look on the bottom, and this isn't from the original Empire Strikes Back line of figures that were put out by Kenner in the 80s. This one says 2007 on it, which unfortunately means that it came out of a sewer, quite possibly, a toilet. A kid would have flushed this down. And as I think about it, I'm going to imagine that it's been really worn and washed by the ocean, so none of that bacteria is on my fingers right now. Perhaps this is something that you've never seen before. Unfortunately, it's no longer alive, but this is what's known as a razor clam. And the clam would have sat inside of it, and what they do is they dig a hole inside of the sand right over here. I see this a lot on Dominion Beach, and you can see that they're shaped just like a razor, and that's what gives it the name. They're absolutely beautiful, but they're also extremely brittle, so it's very difficult to use them for art and for creations. But I haven't seen one in the longest time, and I don't think I've ever shared one with you. So I can see something, and it's buried deep in the sand right over here, everybody. And without a doubt, it's gonna be see another marble. So it just took me a moment there to clean it off so I could show it to everybody a little bit better. And it's about 35% of a marble. To me, it almost looks like a Quebec fleur-de-lis, which is the symbol on the flag of Quebec. I'm gonna have to put that in the video as well right now. And of course, we got another piece of bonfire glass right over here. And these are some great finds. They just keep coming. Here's one that I share with you almost every video, so let's do it again. Here we have a piece from an old floor model television, a nice piece of gray like this one, super thick, and that's indicative of a dump site once again. So I finally made it, everybody. I'm at my destination, and you can see that the really cool steps behind me were actually made by somebody who owns the house right behind me. It's kind of cool because they have a little string on it so they can pull it up when the waves are extreme and just pounding, because I could imagine this would get destroyed on a regular basis, even with its height off the ground. And I know the weather out here, I can almost guarantee that this won't last 10 years. But I got to commend them. They must love the beach as much as I do, and they don't want to go down all the slippery armor rock, so they got to make a nice little way to get down. So there was a tiny little spot right next to the steps, and no matter how tired I am, I can't leave any stones unturned. And I'm so glad that I didn't leave this stone unturned, because sitting right on the surface, there's a beautiful yellow triangle, and it's a piece of flashed glass as well. Now, flashed glass is just a process where they would add a little bit of molten glass on top of the clear, and it gave it a really, really ornate appearance. But I got to pick that up right now, because you know me, sometimes I drop a piece and I never find it again. So a piece like this would have been something really nice and decorative, and hopefully I'm going to be able to find something online that is comparative to. So I've made some absolutely fantastic finds today, everybody, but I'm probably about an hour and a half walk back to my vehicle, and then 45 minutes back home from where I am here. And unfortunately, my son has hockey in about an hour and 45 minutes, so it's going to be time for me to hightail. And just as I'm filming that, take a look at this beautiful abalone shell. And a lot of people wouldn't think that you could find something as beautiful like this up here in the North Atlantic when it's so cold, but this is completely stellar, and it's unlike anything that I ever find out my way that shimmers just like the moon on a clear night. So I'm hurrying back as fast as I can, and this caught my eye. There's no way I can't stop for it. It's so much different than the last yellow that I found. It looks like it's got a little bit of an embossing on it, kind of like what we'd see in a poison bottle. I think this actually might be from a fire grenade. I'm gonna have to give it a closer examination. I also got to keep my eyes on the ground because it looks like I missed a lot. And with all of these pebbles, it's pretty easy to understand that I missed this tiny little shard. So I'm so glad that I'm walking back over my steps and I get to see it all again. Now that I've had a moment to let it dry off and get a better look at the pattern, I'm pretty sure that this is from Depression era glassware from the 1930s. I don't think this is from a fire grenade. Hopefully I'm going to be able to match this to something online. No matter how quickly I'm going, love just seems to find me everywhere I go, and the beach is trying to show its gratitude to me. So here's another piece that I'm going to be able to give away to someone. And here's another nice piece. So I just made these 3 great finds in a few moments. It's just amazing to think that a huge chunk of iron ore, such as the one right behind me, would have been extracted out of this shoreline, and then it would have been smelted to help us in World War I and World War II as well. It's amazing to think that the first industrial steel plant in North America was right here in Cape Breton Island. But unfortunately, with all the pollutants that were put into the air, the average life expectancy for a Cape Bretoner during the height of coal mining and iron ore smelting was 10 years less than the Canadian average. So thank goodness I moved here long after the coal mines had closed, but you can really get that reminder and imagine that there were humans out here with horses, and they were getting all of this out, and they were using it to build ships, to build rail lines. And now take a look, everybody, there's another one. Now I've seen some crucibles that are a lot larger than this one, but it just goes to show that there was a lot of iron ore refining that happened out here. And then they took the rubbish when they were done with the steel plants and they just dumped it by the ocean. And without a doubt, these are huge chunks of iron ore that were meant to be refined. And here they are sitting by the ocean. Well, if there's anything that we learned from Master Yoda, it's do or do not, there is no try. And today we absolutely did. We came to a spot that we'd never been to before, literally just put a pin on the map, and we scored with a couple of bags of goodies. It's gonna be a long walk until I get home, but I really just wanted to thank you guys so much for all of your love and all of your kindness, all of the words that you put down below. It's warmed my heart to new places that you can't even begin to imagine. Kindness is free, and the value of a word is just unmeasurable. So thanks for sharing all your good words with me, everybody. I can't wait to get back out on the beach and explore a new spot out here. I'm pretty sure next time we get out, I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm just gonna put a little dot on a map. We're gonna head out that way, and maybe we're gonna hit another home run. So have a great day, everybody. Thanks for your love.